Good evening. Welcome everyone to the Microsector episode 5. I know, episode 5. We haven't been kicked off the air yet, which is a miracle. But we are very happy to be here. I am Sean Ghostmell. You all know me. You all know my voice. Joining me is my very esteemed colleague, the one and only PC champion of Complete Angler Bentley. It is Claude. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hey, Sean, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. You excited for another episode? Excellent.
Yep. Looking forward to chatting to the our guest, special guest tonight. Yeah.
So we are going to dive into the great unknown of debate, the chatter of chat. I was trying to do that thing Richard Hammond does. He does it so well. It's so good.
He definitely does. Yes.
So we've got two very special guests this evening. The first guest is all the way from Western Australia, so he's actually at a normal time of the day. This is actually sort of late afternoon from him. They can't hear Claude very well. It's all right. We'll get on to that.
Okay. Let me get on it again.
It is Brad, a.k.a. Stickers. Good evening.
Good evening, how are we?
Very well. How are you? We should say good afternoon, shouldn't we?
It's 6 o'clock. You're not that far behind. Steady
Oh,
on.
yeah, true. It's all right. We'll save the WA jokes for a bit later. Actually, we really can't hang anything on them at the moment.
Good safe place to be at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And our second special guest is fresh off one of the greatest bits of racing we have seen here at Sector 1. It is Morgan, a.k.a. 4 Wide Davie. Good evening.
Good evening, Sean and Claude and Brad. How are you all going?
Good, man.
Right.
Good.
Well,
How have you
thank
gone?
you.
We are well, thank you. And before we actually get into it, I've actually got something a little bit special I'm just going to play now. It's just something that sort of will get us into the mode. Here we go. Well, if it works. If it doesn't work, then I'm going to look like a complete idiot.
Okay. I was wondering what the reference to 4 wide was.
Forward up inside.
How crazy was that move? That was that was probably the best 30 seconds of racing I think we've had all season. That was just great stuff. And
I tell you what, it all happened very quickly.
Bit of adrenaline rush.
Yeah. Well, there was it Brocky? It was one of the Toyotas. Was it Brocky or Scotty?
it was Brocky, yourself, Lucky, and Hijacker.
Yeah, so I remember following Brocky and Lucky, and they were basically passing each other in front for a couple corners. I was watching it all happen, thinking, well, what's going to unfold soon? We're going to get one of these like soon. And I was actually kind of setting them up. Well, I was kind of setting the Toyota up, Brocky up for a pass at probably turn 2. The hairpin is where I idealistically thought it might have been on. And then I think he dived down the inside of Lucky, and the Lucky ran wide. Next thing I know, I wasn't really focusing, and next thing I know, they were both too wide on the racetrack, and I kind of didn't really have anywhere else to go but the inside, so it was kind of given to me a bit, and I just thought, oh, I'm going to go to the inside, and then I remembered very quickly that Hijacker was right behind me. So I thought, well, he's going to follow me. I'm down the inside. He's definitely going to try and stay in the stream and try and follow me, or at least pass all three of us down the inside side. So I'm going to try and stay as much to the inside as possible. Use a chance to get three positions, and it worked out.
Perfect, man.
That's it.
Managed to open up the angle just enough to still take the corner and speed and hold the spot. Otherwise, the three of them would have run over the top of you anyway down the next side.
Yeah.
So before we get too far, a big welcome to all our fantastic viewers. So we've got Take Master, we've got Buffer, we've got Shizer, Strudel Juice, Old Mate Hips. Mate, I hope you're doing well. Brewski as well, buddy.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely hope you're doing okay there, mate. Knuckles already fired in with a bit of banter. Love it. Knuckles believes that's the second best bit of racing of the season. So I'm waiting for something. He's going to talk about something else. I could see it already. G'day to the Good Doctor. G'day to the Black Project. VLX GTR says, go the Eagles. You are now on the ban list there, VLX. I'm just putting that in now.
Hey.
So there we go. So there's no real structure. G'day, Lucky. Hope you're well. There's no real structure for... G'day, Dadson. Oh, they're all jumping on board now. Structure for this evening. We are just going to have a quick overview of sort of the last couple of rounds of what's been happening. And then we do have a little debate we sort of want to get into as well. It is sort of to go on from last week. But old mate Claude's sort of got something he sort of wants. He loves getting to this sort of stuff. So he likes to...
They can hear me. Can you guys hear me all right now? I know I can hear myself all right for some reason.
You seem to be all right on my end, but
Yep,
I'm
sounds
sure.
good for me.
Yeah. G'day, Filthy already. Nux and Lucky should be the next guests. So should Filthy. Everyone, Filthy has to get on the microsector. I want everyone to get around it. So we want Filthy and Troy on the same microsector.
Yeah, okay, I'm still quiet.
No.
Claude is fine from the Good Doctor. Thanks, Good Doctor. What a guy he is. So he's probably neck deep in snow at the moment. Poor bugger. And of course, our top 5 list will be the top 5 GT Gran Turismo fantasy tracks, and of course that will come at the end of the program. So, kick things off. Well, might as well just. God, I'm not repeating all this stuff. God, it's thick and fast for these guys. So we had round 4, Group A, on Sunday. Proved to be a really interesting race. So we had some couple of really big sort of dramas happening as well. As we will put up our points table as we are our points at the moment. So it is DB007 leading the way for Counterpunch in S1 GT, VLX GTR in second, Hijacker in third. He's still in third. Jeez, he's consistent, that guy. Knuckles in fourth, and Ricky Bobby Shake and Bake there in fifth position. Brocky in sixth, Speedy Tires in seventh. The crowd favourite, Diego in eighth. Ninth is Gaz Big Balls. 10th is Morgan Davie. V8 in 11th. 12th is Scotty G. Diswood in 13th. And 14th is Lucky. So, what do we think of Sunday's race? Any thoughts there? First, Good Doc? Oh, Good Doc? What am I doing? Jeez, I'm so used to...
You hurt my feelings, man. Yeah, mate, I just had a little bit of a review not long ago and watched the race again for the first time. And, no, I watched it again. And just wanted a couple of highlights in the race, something that will lead into what we'll talk about a little bit later on. Caught that Knuckles v Diego Maradona battle towards the end of the race there, and
it's awesome.
What an awesome sort of display of what the racing here is all about.
Yeah.
A guy who's probably fighting to hold position, clearly had at the time for a few laps there a slightly quicker driver behind him. Obviously Diego was starting to run low on fuel, but driving defensive lines, not weaving all over the track there, Knuckles, but defensively and hard defensively too, but all fair and within the rules, and Diego just constantly trying to find that little opportunity to get past, which in the end he wasn't able to do. But as enthralling a racing as I think we've seen all season, that little battle towards the end of the race, which I thought was for me the highlight of the race, to be honest, watching that back through again.
It was such a shame he had to run low on fuel in the pit.
And pit again, because he had put in a fantastic drive. A couple of guys that really stood out to me as well was Diswood. At the start of the race, he dropped off the back of the main field by a long way and still managed to get himself back up to I think a finish of 9th. So persistence paid off for him, never gave up and just kept battling away, even though he dropped maybe 5-6 seconds off the back of last year and fought back to gain some decent points.
So good.
But the other ones that I was going to ask Sean about, because Sean's our sort of more technical sort of guy, is the issue of getting this super off the line. Poor old Brocky, I'm sure, has done 1,000,001 test starts and still that start.
Yeah, it's It's really interesting with the Super. It's I've been watching the starts quite closely. I've actually replayed them a couple of times, and it seems like the GTR guys have just got their heads around getting the starts right, and they're actually not losing too many positions. But the Super guys are struggling. There's no real technique with it. I've seen a few guys. So I've seen the keep it in second, jam the throttle, flick it back to first technique. I've seen the traction control 2 technique.
Yep.
I've seen the bugger it. Let's just full bore rev the guts out of it and drop the clutch.
Like Brocky did on the weekend.
Yep. I've seen the gentle tippy toes spirit fingers start as well, and not one of them's worked. So it's clear that the Super just can't get off the line.
Very hard to get off the line. The only way I was ever managed to do it is what we saw on the weekend, which is just a limited bash it in first and get swamped by everyone. I found that was the fastest way whenever I plunk my ass in it.
It's got to be disheartening, you know. You put the thing up there, you know, in qualifying, and then knowing that, you know, once that light goes green, the chances are that all that hard work's just going to go down the tubes.
Yeah.
Well, Knuckles has just put in here, haha, grid stars. Pff. Well, Knuckles, considering you are in probably easily the quickest car off the line, that thing is an absolute bullet off the line, that Ferrari.
Absolutely.
You qualify in 5th, and you may as well just pencil Knuckles in for a 3rd or a 2nd position off the line straight away. And Lucky as well. Let's not forget Lucky. Filthy, make sure he reminds Knuckles that Lucky is the number 1 driver in Lucky's lawn care racing every time. So I've found it interesting. Just on the screen as well, guys. Yes, the good doctor did point it out because I was in a bit of a rush with these points. The S1 GT points are underneath the BMW drivers' points and vice versa. You can work that out. I'm sure you can. So it is Switchblade leading the way from Red Mist Racing. Force Performance and those pink GTRs in 3rd, Counterpunch in 4th, and Ragged Edge in 5th position. Very close in the team's championship, which is fantastic. That's what we wanted. My pick's still sitting there in 3rd, though, so they're just going along nicely. As long as they keep going, as long as the kid wins on the weekend, I'll be looking good for my pick. Chucked a cheeky pineapple on it, just saying. Please gamble responsibly. So... Looking over at the BMW drivers' points. So this is probably the biggest story out of the weekend, with D-Flow unfortunately having a major mechanical and not being able to take the grid and race, which was a real shame. What it has done, let's cover off a couple of things. First, the elephant in the room. Cruisin had a massive opportunity here to really grab the bull by the horns and give it the old car straight and take the championship lead, and unfortunately bottled it. That's the best way I can describe it.
Well, you've got two Cruisins that can turn up to the track, can't you? You've got the brilliant Cruisin, the one that just, you go, wow, this guy's, you know, he's a class above the field he's racing against, and unfortunately he had one of those other Cruisin nights where whether he found trouble or trouble seemed to find him, and it was at the real wrong time for him, mate, because as you say, this was the race where he could have really become a big player in this championship. Still is, but would have really taken control of the championship from then on.
Definitely. But what it has done, because with a fantastic race, it is, I can't believe what I'm saying this, Karen Unleashed, aka Bunnings, is on top of the championship at the moment with 102 points. He'll be probably cracking a craft beer right now and make sure everyone knows about it. Janmal in 3rd position. He's hanging around, Janmal. He is hanging around.
Great race.
Yep. D-Flow now drops to 4th position. G'day to Troy. G'day to Excalibur. The Bad Doctor in 5th position. Those top 5, literally one bad race from those top 5, and you're at it. Like, it's crazy how close that is. Moving down to the bottom of the table, we've got a couple of guys on the bubble. So Sandman, Claude, is still hanging in Group A.
I just made my way back in.
But of course, we do have the guys racing on Sunday, so that order will change as well. With Lockwood, will be racing in Group B, and he will be the red hot favourite, no doubt about that.
Hard luck story.
Yeah, no, definitely a hard luck story, but I've got a feeling I reckon he's pretty fired up for this weekend, so watch out for the Ragged Edge BMW. Moving on to the Teams Championship, Dynamite Racing leading the way, Lucky's Lawn Care there in second, Blacklight in third. That's right, Blacklight are in third, not on the bottom. Cornerstone in fourth, Nitro in fifth, and Force Performance there in sixth position. Now, I'll probably do it when we have our break, but I'm actually going to do a little thing where I'm going to add both sides of the Teams Championship up as well, just for moving on into later in the season. So it gives all four guys in the team something to race for, especially with these new guys coming in who unfortunately are out of the Drivers' Championship.
Yep. Makes good sense, mate. Just on that sort of the Group B BMW race before we sort of move on, I think Brent sort of, or Karen showed their
Bunnings.
True colours, on the weekend. He's probably been underperforming for a little bit. Always, if you ask him, he'll tell you how bloody fast he is, and he bloody proved it on the weekend. That's what he's capable of doing. Now, whether he can produce that with D-Flow around him, as we know, D-Flow's going to come back with a vengeance. He's going to want to rectify what's happened this weekend, and there's always the risk of the mechanical issues arising again for D-Flow. We're not 100% sure what it was that caused it.
I do have some late breaking news in regards to D-Flow. Unfortunately, due to real life, he will not be racing this weekend.
Oh,
wow.
Well, then now it's wide open.
So it is very much wide open now. So
there you go.
And
bloody
look,
real life.
Yeah, look, feel for D-Flow, definitely bad, but look, the commentator in me is pretty excited about having a wide open championship. That's right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And look, in D-Flow, we know he's a standout in the field, and whenever he comes back, he's still going to be a player. So the guys that are they're racing this weekend without him around, cruising, talking to you, mate, make the most of it. Put in one and try and fix what happened last weekend. So to get a second opportunity like that handed to you, you want to make the most of it.
As for Brent, and I think you're right. He definitely loves stuff. I think he's got a great amount of confidence behind himself. But also on the other side of things, I've never seen a bloke in the last couple of weeks be so hard on himself with his performance, especially seeming as though he just got his wheel back, and he constantly talks about how he used to be in top 16 superstars and basically fell behind, and he's been really constructively hard on himself to get back to where he has been now, and so I feel like it's very, very well deserved result. He's had a lot of self-reflection on his driving, and it's obviously paid off. A pole and a win, and
mate,
I think we'll start to see a lot from.
I'm telling you right now, hard on himself. Pff, they've got nothing on me.
It was a smashing result. I wanted to make the point of it because
it was.
Maybe performing for a bit and maybe putting a bit too much pressure on himself, And the reality of it is now that, and I wanted to touch on this, and I'm not sure if we're going to cover the B side because we haven't had a microsector since then. But the B group, when I was racing with B guys, the standard of guy in B BMW now is ridiculously high.
It is.
It's ridiculous the standard of driver that we're getting, even in that sort of what we'd call our lowest level of racing. But realistically, I think we'll find if most of us stick around and with next season, you'll find that there's going to be so much movement within the groups, where really it'll feel like the one championship, and guys will just be constantly moving through the two groups. It's just too close to split. But definitely. An awesome drive from Brent on the weekend. Good on you, mate. That was good.
Well, that's right. I mean, Group B now, you got to deal with the two-time Bathurst champion.
Mate, Group B. Some of the new fellas in there. Where did we have in there? We had Streetle, Sean, Kane.
Yep.
And then just regular fellas like the Moff. Good on you, Moff.
Good
I
on you,
don't know
Mark.
if he's in there chat or not. We always talk up Moff, but that's because he won't mind me saying Moff started from a very low starting point as far as his ability to drive the car in the game. But it didn't dishearten him once. He just kept working at it, and he was on the back of me through the middle of that B race last weekend, and I was like, "Holy shit, it's Moff!" Here I am. I was sweating a little bit trying to get away from him, and I couldn't. And a sign of improvement. While we're on that improvement, and I think I've raised it once before, and I'm bouncing around a little bit, but Hijacker.
Yeah,
There's a guy that just blows me away. How much he's improved. Hijacker was racing with you and I, Sean, in maybe B.
Well, I raced with him back in the Super 2 days.
Yeah, back in those days, and I used to remember thinking he's quick, but I think I can beat him. But now, mate,
he's hard racer.
2 seconds a lap on me easily, and that's just improvement from practicing and playing the game. And shout out to Hijacker too on that. Anyway.
Well, since we've got
is one of the most Hijacker and Knuckles be probably the two most hardest yet at the same time respectful racers I've raced against in terms of passing, just being what we were talking about before, just a good hard car racer.
So, moving on. Here we go. I've got to read this out. Filthy says the only way you'll get me on this show is with cash money and plenty of it. This guy, seriously.
So much I could say, Filthy.
So, since we've got 2 special guests, I might as well start dive into some questions. So, any guys in chat as well, if you are watching, if you've got any questions for our 2 special guests, please fire them at me and I'll endeavour to ask them. Probably the first thing I want to ask is really over to Morgan. Where did the love of all things retro Holden come from?
I suppose it comes from horse in the country. Our main category and what's always on the telly is supercars. So my dad he's never really into cars too much. No one in my family was really into cars too much, but he always had brand new run-of-the-mill company cars, Commodores, and from all the way from VT, so basically when I was 3 or 4 years old till now, he only ever had base model, brand new V6 Commodores, and they're nothing real special now when you look at them and you got your license and you drive cars around, but at the time, sitting in the back of this car that I saw on telly, and every now and then he'd put his foot down, and as a little 3 or 4 year old, I thought it was fast. I just fell in love with the cars, and I got my sister who's a lot older than me, would buy for my birthday every year a Wheels magazine subscription, and every 12 months I would get a 1 week. The magazine would come every month, and I got that from like 2001 till about 2016. I just had car magazines to read, and I suppose the battle between Holden and Ford was hugely strong when I was a kid, and everyone at school talked about it. There was no, you like both like I do these days. It was you pick a side and you have fist fights over it. And my side was Holden. I just absolutely loved the cars. It's a very weird era of Holden that I like as well. When I talk to a lot of the hardcore Holden fans in supercar and touring car racing world, they love, of course, the older stuff like his Tiranas and Monaros and all the real classic Holdens, which I absolutely love so much. But what really captured my imagination was the supercar era, in the 90s, and just the Commodore era. I really can't explain it, but there's just something about those cars that I love. I love the motorsport heritage behind them.
Really passionate about it, mate.
Yeah.
I can hear it coming out of you.
There's nothing I love more than them.
Yep. And obviously this, you missed out on our supercars era, where we used to sort of copy the supercars look.
Yeah.
Did you ever catch any of those races that we used to run in the supercar liveries back in the day, or was that something?
Yeah. entirely. So that's what captured my imagination with this category, and what made me want to join is I saw all these cars racing around in Gran Turismo that had supercar derivative liveries on them. And I thought, how can I be a part of this? So I did manage to compete in the community series last season when we had the Mustangs with supercar
yes.
liveries.
Yes.
Those were the first cars I drove in this category, and I honestly thought I was going to do another season of community. It was really unexpected when Brent hit me up and said, "Hey, do you want to? I'm making Switchblade again. Do you want to be a part of it?" I was expecting to do a whole other season in community because I'd never got a race win. I don't think I got a pole as well. I was on the podium a couple of times, but I kind of thought I needed to do a better job myself in order to get a drive with all you guys. But yeah,
It's that hard part for us when we do sort of go through community races, and we touched it off air before. Can't believe I'm saying things like off air. Before we're talking what sort of we're like
In the green room.
In the green room. What we're trying to sort of look for in drivers for our series, and what we hold in high esteem is not necessarily what a lot of people might think it might be, but
yeah.
So it's probably where the surprise came from. Well, sort of leading into that question for yourself, Brad. We've been talking about sort of the Falcon liveries and that caught the eye of Morgan. Yourself, you sort of caught our eye from the work that you do on the liveries of cars. I was once such a tosser name. I hate livery lord, but we've stuck with it, and I'm hoping we're going to stick with it for a bit longer. But I was once a livery lord until I started to see some of the work that guys like yourself were capable of producing, and it was like, oh shit, there's another level, and I'm not going to continue embarrassing myself with the work I'm putting out. So I suppose the first question would be: do you have a graphics background or a design background yourself, or is it just something that caught your fancy and you worked it really hard and off you went?
Yeah, no, I don't have any graphics or anything like that. It's just purely a bit of imagination, a bit of luck, a bit of persistence sort of gets the result, I suppose. But I don't do replicas because to me you're not holding to nothing. If you do it good or great, you can copy somebody else's work. And if you don't get it right, then everyone's going to pick the absolute crap out of it. So, like me, replicas are being done. Use it as a base if you want, but explore a little bit. Use a bit of creative license on that. So that's what I try to do. If I'm going to do something, it's going to live on a real piece on it.
Trying to get some of that creativity of yours to rub off on me, because that was one of the things. I could copy a car pretty well, but I don't have a creative bone in my body, and to come up with something from scratch is, I think, the true test. To come up with an original concept that, and it's such the car livery thing. It's an instant thing, isn't it? You look at one and you just know immediately when one's the absolute banger.
Well, it's funny. It's funny.
You study them so closely, but you just feel it straight away. And a lot of the cars we were popping out there, originals, had that effect.
Thanks, man. Look, it's funny how they come together sometimes. Some just fall together like hand in a glove, and others just are a nightmare, never ending. So, but yeah,
so you're using the trial and error method most of the time, just testing and changing.
Yeah. Yep, some I'll live with it for a while and come back to it and say that looks like crap, start again. And other times, sometimes you make a mistake and actually put something on wrong, and it's just as you're about to change, you go, actually, no, it looks really good. I'll leave it like that. So,
what on our group at the moment is a stickers car?
Well, there's a few stickers cars. There's one there. Because he's a pretty good photographer as well.
This game, this isn't a surprise that I've sort of lost in this game. I've done photography in the past, and I've even back in the days when it was actually print. We were old enough to remember those. Done a wedding and stuff like that back in the day, and but yeah, of course. Now it's about as much as creative license and art more than photography, because you can do anything with a photo once you get it on your all your different hardware and software. You can change it infinitely. So it's more about art and photography these days. Between the liveries and the photography and the racing, she knew we should do this again after this on this game because it's got everything that I love. So it's
just what I was going to sort of try to lead back to is how long is it taking you roughly to produce one of your liveries?
Mate, it's hell on a piece of string. Honestly, some can take a night, 4 or 5 hours. Others can take me 4 or 5 days. It really is. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It really is. The funny part is that like now I'm doing liveries that for other people I find a lot more pressure to get it right than when I'm just mucking around my own pleasure. It's only me I've got to please. But when you're actually doing it for other people, you do feel a bit more pressure to get it right.
Of course,
yes. So it's different from just mucking around for yourself. So.
Well, I'm glad you sort of also decided to get into the racing side of things too.
Yeah, well, I'm a racer at heart. I race karts for 18, 20 years.
Just about Alaska, yep.
Yeah, so I did race karts for 18 odd years around the country, with the national titles all around the country and stuff. And it's where my lovely wife, she's their petrol head too, so that's where we met. So yeah, it was in the blood. Sort of, ever since my dad took me to the speedway since when I was 3 years old, I've followed motorsport. Speedway, getting up at the crack of dawn, watching Bathursts every year.
And racing in Sector 1 now, you're getting similar sort of juices flowing?
I am now. I've got a wheel. I've got a wheel now, and now I feel like I'm driving rather than just...
It's a lot more immersive, isn't it?
It's just all of a sudden, instead of just getting my fingers and thumbs together, I've got to get my whole body in sync.
It does enough to trick the brain that you're no longer just playing a PS4 game, and you're actually just enough to let you think you're actually driving.
Yeah, no. I've had it for 2 or 3 weeks now, and the results are starting to come together a little bit. So I'm starting to get the hang of it and get things the way I like, and getting a little bit more.
Question of both of you. While we're on the topic, what gear are you using? What wheel are you driving?
What do you got, Brad?
I've got the Fanatec.
Oh, money bags. There we go.
No, just the CS.
No, we put all Fanatec drivers into the money bags category.
Oh, okay. Well, if it happened, don't ever after I bought that. So.
And pedals, light cell pedals, or
got the V3s, the V3.
Nice, very nice.
Yep, beautiful.
Well, that's interesting actually, because you'll have gone straight to that, haven't you? So you haven't had to adjust from anything.
Correct. So I wouldn't know. I wouldn't appreciate the possible difference. So it's more braking is still the part that I'm getting comfortable with. The right amount of brake and trail braking and being able to sort of have the right feel for it that I'm not on or off. I've got a bit of feel to it.
Yeah.
So,
and what rig's that attached to?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
No,
what rig's that attached to, Brad?
The GT Pro, damn.
Oh, yep. GT Pro, yes.
Yeah, the next level. The
next level GT Pro. If you are in the market for a next level rig, please go speak to Shizer.
Yes.
See that promotion?
Might be upgrading it actually.
Chuck the link up.
And Morgan?
I've just got a standard run-of-the-mill base model G29.
Yep.
Just had the G29 since they came out, and why I missed the second round was because on the Saturday night it completely buggered out. The whole motor completely buggered out. My controller doesn't work. So it had done a good 5 years, solid 5 years of hard car racing. It definitely didn't have an easier life, that's for sure. So I just bought another one. Just bought a brand new G29. That's all I feel I really need.
I think we're just want to say, I think we're in the minority now, Claude, us Thrustmaster guys.
I think we might be. Yeah, I think we might be.
I did put the spring. There's a little piece of rubber in the spring for the G29 pedals, and I put it sideways inside the spring, and that makes the brake pedal like rock hard, almost like a race car, because it's
Okay.
normally really
Yes,
floppy.
Brocky, you are a
and it doesn't
thrustmaster.
And I'm just sitting on a normal 1998 Ford Career seat, which was my first car. So yes, I love Holdens, but my first car was a Ford.
Oh, there you go.
And what rig have you got that on, mate?
It's just on a wooden table that I've drilled
Yes.
to the ground.
Right on.
It's sitting on
Old school.
bricks,
That's the
and
way,
I've
mate.
put 2 drills through it, 2 holes through it to jockey strap the steering wheel to the wall, and I've got it braced up to my bed with a toolbox.
Gold.
Oh,
proper. I tell you what, it does
Solid.
not move at all.
Good stuff.
And
Might have to do a
I just want
Facebook
to,
poll, I think,
yeah.
the other week, Sean.
I just want to bring that up. It doesn't matter what gear you use. Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have this misconception that I've got to go out and buy a $2,500 direct drive fancy
Yeah.
wheel.
You
When
don't.
funny fact, Ivo Fraga, the famous Gran Turismo driver, his first rig was literally a G29 on a table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy went out and spanked everyone around the world. So again, it doesn't come. Look, don't be wrong. I'd love a Fanatec direct drive wheel mounted to a fully sick rig with a fully $6,000 widescreen monitor and the whole motion sensor and all that thing. Oh, you wouldn't get me out of the joint. But you also got to look at real, sort of real life
Reality.
versus. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I've heard eating is important. So
I think it's just a matter of finding a seating position you're comfortable in, and
yeah,
stuff not moving around. You don't want the wheels slipping.
that's the biggest thing.
You know,
Yeah.
the reality of it is I've had the wheels slip on the rig. I'm sorry, next level wasn't your fault. I didn't tighten the screw tight enough. But yeah, that's all you need. And once you've found that, whether it's on a rig or on bricks, you know, you're done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
well,
it.
talking about little adjustments, my seat wasn't tall enough, so I put a couple of those wheels magazines underneath it, and made it's a little bit taller. And the normal plastic screws that hold it on to the table weren't strong enough, so yeah, like I said, I drilled those holes through it and put jockey
I
straps
think
on
I think Morgan needs to do us to show us your junk video.
it.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
like
we need
Well,
we
the
need to
thing
see
I've got
this.
behind it is those stims. Yes, like you're saying, Sean, they would definitely be a benefit, but they cost as much as a real car. And I think the whole point of this stuff is that it's less expensive than a real car. It's less expensive to go out
Oh.
and buy a Hyundai Excel race car or whatever it is than just buy a normal steering wheel and turn on Gran Turismo.
I'll ask you again in 12 months, Morgan.
Yeah.
To see what
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe we're 43 minutes in, boys. Maybe we start our little. It was titled "The Great Debate Tonight."
Yes.
Which
Yep.
was sort of broaching the topics that everybody thinks about, but might not often get to speak about. So we encourage everybody in chat to get involved with the conversation with the great debate. I don't know why I've called it a debate. It doesn't necessarily need to be a debate, but we were talking about this concept of what makes a good driver or a good player of Gran Turismo Sport, and perhaps the misconcept that fast is what we're looking for, that fast makes you a good player and that slow makes you a poor player. And I was firmly positioning myself in the camp that neither puts you in the category of a good player. That you could be slow and very ordinary, which is obvious, but you can also be very, very fast and very ordinary at this game too. And that the true test of how good you are at this game is your ability to race other people in confined space, under pressure, and to be able to pick and choose your moments wisely. We used the example earlier of what I thought was a highlight of the GTA. Was it the GTA race I was talking about? We were talking about the battle late in the race between Diago
Oh, yes.
yep.
Yeah.
and Knuckles
Yeah,
as an
Knuckles.
example of what we're
Yeah.
trying to get at here.
Yeah.
Which is to race hard, but to race fair and just there's no doubt that in every sport you have spectacular moments when things happen that you just don't expect, and usually they are gambles on behalf of the person who's pulled that move off. It's a 50-50 gamble, but in this sport that 50-50 gamble is a high risk and potentially one that carries a big negative downside attached to it. So
Very costly.
as racers yourself, Morgan, you've had a taste of S1. I'm assuming you've had a big taste of daily racing and all that, and maybe even a lot of the FIA racing.
Yeah.
Are you noticing any sort of a difference in what we're doing here as compared to even, say, top tier FIA racing?
I noticed, and this is a compliment to Sector 1 for sure, I noticed the only people I've versed that are as, I was going to say as good, for lack of a better word, as respectful and at the same time hard car racers, while still being respectful and still
Lucky.
doing it fairly, is the top tier. I was once in for a period of time the top 16 superstars, and that's the only time that I've experienced this level of rapport and respect while still racing as hard as you possibly can. I don't really find the enjoyment in racing any other way. My favourite form of car racing is touring car racing, and that it's rough and it's hard done, but you get penalised if you're a bit of a T-head. And I really, really, really find a lot of I'd find much more enjoyment in going too wide with someone and losing my spot. Me and Sean at Dragon Trail in one of the pre-season races. I'd find much more enjoyment in going too wide and losing my spot than trying to fight down the inside and gaining a spot and maybe punting him off, but me still being in the right. It wouldn't definitely matter if I'm in the right. If the bloke's fallen off the racetrack while I'm trying to have an exchange with him, I don't really enjoy that. I'd much prefer.
It's not a nice feeling. I think
exactly.
You know instantly, don't you, when you've done something silly and pushed a little bit too far and off his team going to the sand. It's not a nice feeling. You know straight away that poor fella's put in a couple of weeks of practice and a little bit of over exuberance and off he goes. And you just learn, I think, over time to try to avoid that scenario as much as possible. Out of respect for a fellow driver, out of respect for racing, I think.
Yeah,
you try to avoid that from happening.
Brad, me and Woody had a bit of a. Oh, sorry, mate.
No.
Yeah, me and Woody had a bit of an incident. And I definitely take all the blame for it. He didn't mind too much at all. I think he even didn't realise it was me. But we were coming up to turn 2, and I wasn't even expecting to make a move. My braking marker was the 100. I was waiting for the 100 to pop over the roof of his car, slim off on the brake, and he probably broke it. The 110. All of a sudden, he was stopped earlier than me. I had nowhere else to go apart from going into the grass, either into the back of him or fight down the inside. And I thought, actually, if I clear the brake a little bit, I might be able to fully get the move done and I won't hit him. And then halfway through the braking zone, I was like, oh, nah, this is not up far enough, and my front bumper just slightly touched his rear wheel, and luckily we both gathered it and probably only lost about half a second, and continued on. I didn't even really have to redress. But even then, when I knew that I didn't really do anything wrong, I just broke at the same place. I broke every single time, and I still felt bad for doing it.
Well, it's good that you raise it, because you did say sort of if you've been a bit of a D-head, but the reality is sometimes we just make mistakes.
Exactly,
So you've got to allow for that too. And, if you drive and bumper cam the way I do, I think Sean, you drive bumper cam as well.
Yeah.
From memory, you don't really get to see the usual brake markers when you're, right on the car in front of you, which is one of the reasons why I refuse to race that close to the car in front. I'd like to allow myself, 2 cars length. You're still in the tow, you're saving fuel. That's what boring people do, which is what I do. And you know, worrying about the pass in the pits or waiting for the guy in front to make a mistake. And then there'll be times in the race where I feel like it'd be good if I clear this guy now and put a bit of pressure on and show the nose and do whatever you can to try to, more often than not, try to draw an error, which guys get out of me pretty easily by the looks of it. It was late. Shansky, nice pass around the outside, mate. Last night, they were a cracker. It's a, it's just having that awareness, isn't it? Well, I mean, I'll bring this up partly because I'm a steward. I don't know if a lot of the guys that are racing with us are aware that the stewards team it extends beyond Momo. Seems just to cop the load of being the steward, and he does do the bulk of the work in there. Don't get me wrong, but you know he's supported by Filthy and by Big Guns in there as well, and myself, and you know we constantly faced with decisions and with tough ones too, man. You know they're so bloody intricate, and you can look at them from a million different ways, but you just know when an error has been made or something's been done too forcefully, and it's important to point out that it's not personal. You know, it's not even us saying, "Oh, you're a dickhead. Here's a penalty." It is what it is by the rules that we want to enforce and by the style of racing that we want to have guys getting used to. It requires, you know, punishment.
Exactly. Well, sometimes
to do, but that's the only way you get, you know, hopefully get a message across, or not get a message across, but set the standard of the boundaries of what it is that you can and you can't do. And
the old cliche in the book is to finish first must finish. And that's to me, you know, especially watching the big boys racing this, you know, you got an hour to make things happen. It doesn't have to happen in the first three corners. You know what I mean? Sure, if you can make it all well and good, but I think sometimes when Red Mist sort of settles, it you know, people at the time again probably say, look, back out of that one and survive. They push a bad situation. Or racing carts. I remember I was pissed off one day because one guy took me out and I was ranting and raving and carrying on like a pork chop. And one of the, you know, the door card, he'd been around for years, everyone looked up to him and said, "You mate, you've taken out because you put yourself in a position to get taken out." And I said, I looked at him and I didn't like it at the time. It wasn't what I wanted to hear, but he was right. I put myself in a bad position, and then when I got taken out, I wanted to cry about it. But in reality, I put myself in that position for it to happen in the first place. So, I mean, you got to race, but there's times to push it, and there's times to concede and say, "No, I'd rather survive and have another shot in the next."
Yeah, I think there's a certain way to not be. So we've covered a lot about how to not run into someone if you're the person doing it. But I think there's also a way if you're the person in front that I've learned how to not have it happen to you. There's a certain way that you can change the way you brake the car and change your lines into a corner that almost send body language signals to the person behind it. No, this move is actually not going to be able to be done. And you possibly aren't even covering, but you're just changing your approach into the corner that almost sends like a signal to the person behind of, I'm not going to be able to get the end inside. He's just going to turn on me. If there's going to be a bit of a crash here, and it's like, of course you don't. And it's like before the person is, of course, down the inside, and there's a way that you brake the car into a corner, which you probably carry just a little bit more speed on your entry to stop yourself from having a bit of contact on the entry when someone's a bit hot behind you. And
it's interesting you raise that, because I think it's the one thing that everybody can work on, and that's just the awareness of the cars around. Unfortunately, this isn't virtual reality, so we can't look to the left and see how far up the inside the fella's managed to get.
Yeah.
Most of the time he's in a blind spot, and you're just genuinely using gut feel or your radar. Use your fucking radars. And
I guess,
and you know whether you can then attack the apex and cut the guy off because you've got the room to do it, or you've got to hold a slightly wider line because he's there. And I think that's the key, is the radar's there to help us with the blind spot that we can't see in the mirrors or by turning head as you would in real life. So
the thing we liked about Knuckles and Diego was that Knuckles picked his line early. Knuckles knew where he was strong and where he was weak. So Knuckles picked his spot and he's gone into it down the straights every time. He said, "If you're going to go around me, you're going to have to go around me." And so he definitely wasn't drifting. He just definitely what he did, and he knew what he had to do.
Yeah,
It
that's the way it should be done.
It's when the guy in front sometimes wants to double guess and sort of pick 2 or 3 different lines going in where you can turn to crap pretty quickly.
I would love to hear what your opinion on this is, Claude, because you're in the stewards. I always believed in there's a couple rules of car racing and getting passes done that I always believed in. We don't have B pillars in a lot of our two-door cars. I always believed in Gran Turismo when we can kind of get a bit of. We don't have to with these GT cars. We don't have to worry about losing a bit of a wing and all that stuff. It's a bit more of like a touring car, the way that we pass and all that. I always believed in if you're beyond the back of the rear wheel, then you're up far enough. Of course, if it's broke too late, you dive bomb with them, and you have to use them as your brakes, and that's not the case then. But if you're beyond the back, if you're beyond the front of the back wheel, and that person turns in on you, it's probably their fault for turning in on you. If you didn't get up far enough, like for example myself with Diswood, and they turn in on you, it's your fault for not getting up far enough. And
it's interesting. You sort of raise that one.
And I always believed in covering once. You don't move twice. If you're going to cover, I think it's kind of what you're saying about Knuckles. If you're going to cover, you move once and you don't move back.
It's we've got a clear rule on the moving in a straight line and the swerving. We don't allow that. We allow one move and one move only.
There we go. Yeah, sweet.
And so that's pretty clear. The one you're talking about there, is one, for example, came up this past weekend, and it was one the stewards debated for a long time, for longer than it should be, because there's so many other factors too, man. That guy up the inside, how much speed is he carrying?
Exactly. Has he broke too late?
Is he realistically making that corner? So yes, he got in front, but was it just out of, I'm taking the corner no matter what? Exactly.
Yeah, if the car wasn't there that he was passing, would have made the corner.
You factor all these things. In my eyes, yes. If 2 cars are coming in and they're at the same speed and they're at the same braking sort of. I was just watching a replay before when I'm trying to remember what the example was, where somebody backed out of a similar situation, and I think it could have been Diego again. He was in that situation, but he made the call. And the call was for him in that split second was to back out of the move. And he allowed the guy in front, and, it's forgotten about. Because it wasn't that, he made the right decision at that point. Because the guy in front was slamming the door shut, right? But
Diego's a very...
awareness. It's an awareness of what the guy in front of you is doing, what's happening around you, and sometimes I think we just get a bit insulated, thinking only of what's happening in our own little cockpit, our own heads, and that's what gets us into trouble.
Yeah, guys who race like Diego, I feel, need to be respected a lot more with the way that they race and pass. I always call them the Mark Winterbottoms, which is a compliment. Mark Winterbottom was always really good at knowing when to execute a pass and when not to, when to battle, when not to. And I think I see it whenever I verse Diego, he really gets out a lot of those Mark Winterbottom style vibes with the way he drives the car. I hope he sees that in the compliment. I hope he likes Mark Winterbottom.
We have a lot of guys like that, and we have guys that are moving towards racing in that way too. Pruski, you almost made me chuck in my mouth then. That's a load of... No, he's probably known as the hardest man to pass.
Yeah.
I think... But there's an example.
The thing is also, right hip and Pruski, and yes, he makes it hard, but he also gives you a bit of room. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Racing room doesn't have to be negative. Actually, giving a bit of racing room can actually help you keep your momentum up and actually not lose a spot rather than trying to squeeze somebody.
Sean, you've been very quiet there, but you'd agree with us in saying that Pruski is probably the best example of this, in that he found the balance, didn't he? And
well, 100%. I think I was letting you guys talk because I was just listening and just trying to take it. And I think a couple of points is, as once famous racing driver said, racing is all about risk management. It's when to, I think what we're saying as well, it's knowing when to pass. That's one trick, but knowing when not to pass is the real trick.
Yeah.
I
more
found,
often than when 2 pass.
yeah,
More
definitely.
often than not.
I think sort of going along those lines is some of the best racing I've seen in Sector 1 for, I've been in the box now for 5-6 seasons, however bloody long it is when 2 cars are just following each other very closely and they're just absolutely on the ragged edge, but not over the edge.
Yeah.
That's really great racing to me. And to go on your point there about Pruski is, he's got it absolutely spot on, except for that time at season 1 in Monza. We won't discuss that.
It took him time to get it.
Yeah.
He'll admit to that. He'll admit that there were times where he maybe pushed the boundary too far, but he's got it now. You know, we haven't seen a Pruski incident in the stewards for I don't know, 2 weeks, so he's definitely getting better.
The last race of last year, I was just sort of getting into this. The last races of the community series last year, the last Group A race, Brands Hatch with Brocky, and help me out when those 2 were going hammering from lap after lap at Brands Hatch the last towards the last year, and in the Corvette and the BMW. That racing was unbelievable. Yes. 2 guys going absolutely hammering tongs, hardly touched each other, taking risk after risk after risk, but just put it off. It was awesome to watch.
And even with the touching aspect, there's touching and there's touching. You know, when it's a side door and the car's nice. When doors are being banged, and the cars aren't losing their balance. You know, they're not in a position to get spun around. That's okay. It's knocking the rear quarter of a car and knowing that you don't have to just touch him there. And he's around.
Sorry, I've lost.
I'm doing it. We've now hit the 60-minute mark, and we haven't touched on the upcoming round of brands, and we haven't done our top 5. So, thanks, boys, for sort of chatting about that. I think it's important to sort of get a feel from you guys what your thoughts are on what it is that we're trying to achieve from setting a racing standard. It's a little bit different, At the end of the day, it's a PlayStation game, and it's easy to think that I'm just going to jump on and I just want to get the thrill of pulling the most amazing passes of all time. But this league is probably past that. We're looking for guys that have got that out of their systems in dailies and FIA, and now are looking to try to race as true to life as possible.
But in saying that, guys,
when you start last, you got no choice.
Only caveat I want to put on everything that I said was that I don't follow my advice clearly with what performances I've been putting in the last couple of weeks. So do as I say, not as I do. So.
Probably just to finish that whole subject off is, as someone who calls all the races, I'm not saying don't fire up the inside, because if you all start just driving around like Miss Daisies, I will call you out. But it's more just, I guess, coming down to as Lucas used to say to me, he goes, when I used to race and I didn't think I was as fast as the guys in front of me, he goes, no, but you have a great race brain and you have a great race strategy. And that's what it's all about. It's racecraft. Exactly. That's what I was getting to the point. It's racecraft. It goes back
to the original topic of the debate, whether fast is good. And it's not necessarily the case.
No, it's not.
We've come to the conclusion too anyway. So.
Yep, the conclusion is be more like me. There we go. 6 seasons. 6 seasons, never been in the steward's office.
So we're on to Brands Hatch next week.
We're off to
Anybody here like Brands at all?
Look, it's all right. It goes all right. It goes all right.
Absolutely love
Sorry, boys. We have somebody in here with us who's just obsessed with Brands Hatch and apparently like every brook in the joint. So go ahead, Sean.
Yep. Look at the Davie. I'll just put that on screen. Look at that. That's just the replay going in Gran Turismo. Look at that. It's Brands Hatch. Brands Hatch. Yes, we won't forget Group B at RBR. Before we did cover that off at the start of the. But you should be listening now. We don't forget about Group B. We are heading to Brands before Brands Hatch, so we've got a couple of things we've got to cover off. So, of course, we've got Group B at Red Bull Ring on Sunday. Really interesting race, this one. There's a couple of big permutations going on as well, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, definitely. especially in
Go, Josh.
GT land and especially in BMW land with Lockwood. Yeah, good luck, Group B BMW. Have fun with that. Then we are having a week off. But we have a special event. So looking forward to that. We have the Fuji 1 hour and we have the Le Mans 2 hour. Now, just cover a couple of quick things. Qualifying won't be streamed. I'm trying to work out when we're going to do qualifying. We might do it the day before. Haven't decided that yet. So it will be a longer stream. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. The liveries look absolutely fantastic as well. So I can't wait to show everyone. And then, yes, we do hit the beautiful Brands Hatch. Fantastic racetrack.
Fantastic.
In the Garden of England. It's fast, but not fast. It's flowing. It punishes mistakes. It's brutal on tyres. It's got...
How's the grass, eh?
The grass is slippery.
There's no such thing as half a wheel off the track.
Yeah. It's got two absolutely fantastic corners in Hawthorns and Sheen Curve. Guarantee we will not see everyone get through Sheen Curve. Every single race I've called there, someone's gone off there.
Would I be wrong in assuming that the red cars might be pretty quick there?
The red cars should be extremely quick there. I did a bit of pre-season testing with all the cars, and I can tell you right now, those little beasts from Maranello are very fast around there.
Yeah.
So no pressure, Knuckles, no pressure, Lucky. But we are expecting a pretty big result out of you guys. What I'm very interested in, though, is there's been a make of car that has struggled this season. It is the elephant in the room. It is the big bad AMG. It just seems it's not having a good time at life. I think Brands might be its saviour. I've just got a gut feeling that...
Interesting.
And why do you think that?
Just the way it handles.
Yeah, I thought so.
And the fact that the Merc seems to struggle on power circuits I've found this season.
Yeah.
Brands is not really a power circuit. It's more about... Exactly, Buffer. Consistent driving, being smooth. I do have a few little tips and tricks I use for special people that do ask me and be really, really nice to me. That helps people. But one big trick is flow. Really important to get into a flow around Brands Hatch. Like, don't overdrive it. It's one of those tracks, if you overdrive it, it will jump up and punch you straight in the face.
Very true.
Shizer's just run up in there whether the community cars can run the GP track, please. Is that something we can propose to Chase?
We can propose that, and but just remember, Shizer, that most likely I'll be driving. Just putting that out there.
Shizer, you
Buffer says go the Bombers. Yep, Buffer wants tips. Smart man. Filthy says Nux. I reckon there's a target painted on somewhere the Vipers this season. Oh, I'm not touching that. I'm leaving. Oh, Shizer, come at me, bro. Oh,
yeah.
Love it. Filthy says Bombers are trash coming from an NRL supporter. That means absolutely nothing to me.
So we need to move into top 5?
Yeah, well, we'd have to...
An hour and 10?
That's all right. We don't have to rush this evening because of the community guys sitting there going, come on, guys. Jesus Christ, stop rambling on. Filthy says AFL is trash. That'll be a 10-spot group penalty for Filthy.
Yeah.
I'll get on to Mo for that.
He can apply it on himself.
You can. So our top 5. So I was sort of thinking, it come up actually on Sunday, I believe it was. Clinty Gogo actually fired it into the chat and said top 5 GT tracks. So I'm thinking, actually, that's a pretty good top 5. So we basically come up, so it was top 5 Gran Turismo fantasy tracks. So basically tracks that are exclusive to Gran Turismo. I've got a gut feeling that it is going to be dominated by one track. But we will see sort of.
So can we say Trial Mountain's one for everybody?
I reckon you could probably say that. Well,
Yep,
but
I'll
let's
say
find
that.
out. We might argue.
Four.
It's not on my list.
Oh, controversial. There we go. Well, with that, we'll
Kickstarter.
yeah, off with the new
But
ball.
look, to be fair, like I'm a you coming into this sort of Gran Turismo thing. I got the very first Gran Turismo when I broke my leg back in the late '90s. I sat in the couch for 3 months and played the whole thing. And the next one I grabbed was Gran Turismo Sport. So I'm not really in the best position to sort of keep all the great tracks. So, but I've got a Deep Forest, obviously, and the Grand Valley Speedway from season 1.
Yep.
And from the current tracks, Dragon's Trail, Kyoto Park, Drawing Park, the Yamajiwa.
Oh, that stupid truck. Yeah.
You look at the Aerodrome, Megio,
Lake Maggie. Yep.
Yep, I like that one, and it was awesome. And so Sardinia Road Track B. Certainly my tracks are favourite because it's ones I've actually got good results from, like most people, I suppose. No science to them, just the tracks I've actually done okay at. So.
Great list except for Yamagawa. I hate that truck. Just, I've got a history with it. I've got a history
For
with
the
it.
same reason that you did the result there?
Yeah, the reason is, basically, for those that don't know, the reason was we had a time trial back in the day, and I was on the cusp of making the main game race. It was looking great. The first race, nailed it out of the park, looking awesome. Get to Yamagawa, and that stupid turn 4 is the dumbest corner ever invented. And yeah, basically, instead of racing in the supercars group, I had to go back to Super 2, and I've ever hated that track.
He doesn't hold a grudge.
No, not at all.
It's okay.
Oh, Troy, is Dragon Trail
moves
not
on.
real? I'm never going to dignify that one.
Why I would let that chicane pass in a million years.
Morgan, you top 5.
Well, I'll go from 5 to 1. So, Trial Mountain is on my list, but it's number 5 to me. I reckon my 5th favourite definitely Trial Mountain. Then I'd say Deep Forest would be number 4. And then another one from Gran Turismo 4, Midfield Raceway. I absolutely loved that track. That was a great track. That's how I learned. I remember learning the first time I ever went sideways in a car ever on Gran Turismo or anything was under the tunnel. And from then on, it was history. Number 2 is Opera Paris, the Paris Street Circuit from Gran Turismo 4.
Oh, yeah. Good track.
That is such a good track. There's
Yep.
a replica of Turn 8 and Turn 9 from Adelaide in it. It goes the opposite direction. And my number 1 favourite track, fantasy track, would be El Capitan. That's a great
Nice.
And not that I was asked, but my least favourite ever track ever, real life not, is Dragon Trail.
Oh, wow.
Unpopular opinion.
Controversial. You heard it here first.
Stand it.
Right on. In either direction.
Actually, going with first, it's not too bad.
Righto.
But I find a lot of people, especially in lobbies, of course, is the only time you really verse people like this. People who can't drive tend to do really well there because it's like really wide, and people who can drive also do even better. But people who have no driving skill and just play this, they probably don't care about car racing at all, and it's just a game to them. Somehow they manage to do well there all the time.
They've race it a million times. You know,
Yeah.
If you don't really get into the game, you do make it over and over and over and over again.
I like chicane, but not the rest of it.
Quick of it. Alright, I'll go next because Sean's going to want the floor to go through his top 5. He's going to need at least 25 minutes of his. So.
Yeah.
I've just opened and done a quick Google search because I'm shit at this and I didn't know. I remember Trial Mountain I remember. So we'll make that one 5. I remember. What was the one of you blokes just brought up then? It was Deep Forest. So we'll put that one at 4. 3. I do like Trial. I do like Dragon Trail. It got me back into the game, and it's a big reason why I'm still here. Number 2. Oh shit, where we go? Yeah, I'll go Kyoto. Why not? Just to piss Sean off. And I do like racing there. I actually can get around there competitively. And number 1, Brands Hatch. No, just kidding. I'm a massive fan of St. Croix. I don't know if there's just something about the flow of that track that you can race it in a Group 4, you can race it in Formula 1. That combination of curves when you're before the bridge just does it for me. You know,
I'll go through that, but I 100% agree with you there, Claude. Yeah.
So
I can't believe I forgot about that track.
So, as always, I am the most prepared out of myself and Claude. As always, I prepare I prepare a visual diagram.
Well, you're waiting.
Yep. So my top 5 is number 5 is from Gran Turismo 4, Sitiaria. Fantastic little track, this one. Based in Italy. Now, the first part of the track is quite open, very European style in its flow. And then you get to the city section, and there's a downhill part threading the eye of the needle.
Is that the photo there of that section?
Yep.
Yeah.
Get it right, especially in a really fast race car, and you do get the little shivers, and it's a great little track. I'd bloody hope they bring it back, but they haven't. So, Kaz, if you're listening, you're probably not, but if you are, GT7, get on it. Number 4 is St. Croix. As Claude said, it just flows beautifully. That section before the bridge, we call it Alpe d'Huez. So it just flows. You go right, left, right. Then you got the little bump at the last part where you get onto the Bridge of Champions. Then you flow it down in through. Yep. Then you flow through Dom Perignon, through Bordeaux, up through the flat, and then into the rapid curves. I named all these corners, by the way. Just saying. Also, the scene, of course, of the biggest accident ever in Sector 1 history. Trust me, it was a big one. Ask Wardo about it. He'll tell you all about it. He loves talking about it. Number 3 is El Capitan. Fantastic track. Really picturesque as well. And it's got this great chicane section. You go through the tunnel, then you go uphill, and then you plunge downhill. Really, you get really loose up there, especially in a drifting car. You can just go sideways through that whole section. Really great track. Absolutely fantastic track. Number 2, of course, it is the OG. It is Trial Mountain. We've all done that R32 license test around there. Probably thrown the controller through the wall a couple of times because of that license test.
Is it fair to say, Sean, that we're probably just not going to see it in Gran Turismo Sport?
Not in Gran Turismo Sport. We will see it in GT7. Guaranteed. Yeah, it is. It is definitely coming back for GT7. It was a shame we didn't see it in GT Sport. Same as Deep Forest. There were rumours of both of them coming back, but unfortunately they haven't, which is a real shame because, But they have changed Trial Mountain for GT7, so I'm a bit sceptical. Yeah, because... Yeah, the chicane's different and just doesn't have that real fast chicane at the end as well, which I'm a little worried about because that was one of the best parts of the track. But number 1 for me is Apricot Hill. It has everything.
Yep.
It's fast, it's flowing, it's got great chicanes, it's got really tricky long radius bends, it's got uphills, it's got downhills.
A fictional British track, was it?
It was a fictional track, yes.
British?
I believe, based off British with a little bit of, America thrown in there as well. Main reason this is number 1, my best memories on Gran Turismo, my best mate. We had many hour on this, racing our CRK 55s that we've both modified 2 different ways. And he's still got the original race we had on his old memory card. So there you go.
Cool.
So yeah, couple of notable mentions. Tokyo R246. Love that joint. Absolutely the fastest street track you can you fly around there. And worst track, well, that's easy. Anything with dirt on it in Gran Turismo.
Yeah, so Gran Turismo Sport would have to be Willow Springs to me. It's one that I just never really enjoyed, and it's not dirt on the track, but it's dirt all the way around it, and not for me.
Yep.
GT, just forget the rally stuff. Just forget it. Just forget it.
Time.
Just forget it.
Energy.
Push it away.
They could put that energy into giving you Stroll Mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
Plays in. There's no point.
Oh, so Brocky's got a couple of big mentions here. No high speed ring, no special stage Route 5 and 10. Route 5 definitely, 10 was stupid.
It's because they're all noob tracks.
Yeah, Black Project, Seattle, 100%. That downhill when you went backwards was amazing. Seattle. Wee. Basically, it was like being in San Francisco.
I do remember Rome.
Yeah, Rome was pretty good as well.
Yes.
Grand 3.
There's another one I'm thinking. Is it Capering? Was it Capering? From GT2.
Yeah, that was a 5 and 6 game.
Yeah, I remember Capering. That was pretty good as well. Rome, the tight section between the buildings. Yeah, 100%. Brocky, definitely.
I didn't mention Lago Maggiore, did I?
Lake Maggie?
No.
Yeah, I like Lake Maggie. I'll probably chuck that in there.
I like Maggie West, actually. I love Maggie West. It's just, it's a great track. And it has NASCAR. Greatest corner ever. Just saying.
Scene of that epic battle. What was it? A Terry v... What was that one? Last race of the season?
Yeah.
Of the season.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I remember Terry and...
you know, we'll have to... I don't know if we can track that clip, can we? We probably can't get that
I
clip.
think I might have it somewhere on the hard drive. I'll
It'd be
have
good
to...
to bring that one up in the next Microsector, because god damn you boys lost your mind in the commentary box.
Yeah, we did.
Maybe before we go, what's a real racetrack that we all want to see in Gran Turismo?
I'd love to
Silverstone.
Silverstone?
Ooh.
Which
yeah,
was?
you know.
Yeah, which was in...
I've got a feeling you might say Adelaide, Morgan.
Adelaide?
Oh, it's a good one. That wasn't what I was thinking of, but...
Because I played it. That Adelaide used to be on an Xbox game, wasn't it? Supercars Xbox.
Yeah, it used to be on the official Supercars game, but it might have been on Project Gotham, that Xbox game.
Yeah, I was a fan of Adelaide, so I'd like to see Adelaide.
Yeah.
Adelaide? Easy for me. Oh, probably two. Phillip Island. Or Thruxton from
yes.
from the UK.
I'd say Oran Park.
Yeah, Oran Park. Well, Oran Park's up there.
Or Amaru.
DJ Brain says Phillip Island, Monaco. Yeah, Monaco. I have a love.
Great track to sort of drive around and enjoy.
The thing with Monaco is, it is a great track in the right car.
I wonder what it'd be like in a Group 3 or a Group 4 car.
Well, have you guys ever watched the Carrera Cup there? That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It's actually, you know what? Speaking of that, Macau.
Oh,
Macau would be amazing. So many great races there. That tight little section. It is the daddy of street tracks. There's no doubt about it, Macau's. 100%. Dadson says Watkins Glen. Great track as well, Dadson. 100%
Queensland Raceway.
Queensland Raceway.
Apricot 500.
Oh, the bloke.
Central.
I swear, this is how Queensland Raceway got designed. How am I going to design a track?
Yeah.
Oh, what's this? Oh, hang on.
Paperclip on top of the sheet.
Paperclip on top of the sheet. Oh, there we go. Job done. Yeah, build it. Do you want elevation? No, flat as a tack in the middle. Out at Ipswich. Beautiful part of the world.
What if we got the ability to design tracks again? I was never into the design side of things. That could be an interesting one. Where you could have a championship on your own design tracks.
Do you know who designed Queensland Raceway? It's Dick Johnson, who has who's known to have probably the most powerful engines in all the supercars, but not really the best handling cars. So he made a track with not very good, not very big corners, and 4 big massive straights on it.
Something suited.
100% correct, Hijacker. Cote d'Azur was Monaco in GT 5 and 6. 100% correct. Give yourself a gold star. So, I reckon we've come to the end.
Yeah.
That was a good episode. Really enjoyed that. I hope everyone did enjoy it. So,
Yeah.
couple.
We nearly knocked an hour and a half over for
Yep.
like 10 minutes.
So a couple of quick things. Big thank you does go to our 2 fantastic special guests, Stickers and Mr. Forwide. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you guys. It was enjoyable.
Hope
Yeah,
you enjoyed
really
that. Big thank you goes to Claude as well. Next time Claude will do his homework. We'll make sure. Probably
probably
not. So coming up on Sector 1. Pardon me. Coming up on Sector 1, Sunday night will be Group B, Round 4 from... Where we at? Red Bull Ring? Yep, I knew that. So it will be myself, V8 and NASCAR bringing you all the action live and free from 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Critical round, tune in. It's
Massive
a
round.
big round.
Big round.
Yeah.
Then Thursday will be the community series. I have no idea where they're racing, but somewhere.
Almost more.
Yep, around a track. That's it. There you go.
Actually,
They're ready to go cut
before we go, just a real quick one.
Yeah.
Shout out to a couple of the boys that got called up into the series from community races last week. I know CP Racing, my team, has called up Brainac, who will be running his first. We lost Stickers.
Stickers
It's
gone.
all right.
Must be that
Brainac,
Perth
who
internet.
will be running his first Sector 1 race on the weekend, and I think there's at least another 2, Sean.
Yep.
That got promoted, who will be running their first races on the weekend too. Congratulations to those guys
Job.
who've landed seats, a lot ahead of you. And are we looking for another replacement driver out of this community series race this week, Sean?
We may be. I'm pretty sure we are.
Looking for one.
So,
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
I tried
So
to
there's
get
a-
myself out of retirement again and again got knocked back. I'm going to keep trying though. But yeah,
there's something riding on community series.
definitely something riding on the community series. So there's a good chance I might jump in for a steer just to evaluate these guys. And plus I love it's good fun.
Race.
Yeah, it is great fun.
Then next weekend, so not the weekend coming, the one after, is our special event. So there's a bit of work still to do that. So probably next week we'll start, all the admin guys will be starting to hook in, just so we can get it run nice and smoothly. We'll be...
Announced who's
Well,
racing
that's
into it.
step one. Team owners need to nominate their drivers. for the
Yep,
race.
team owners will need
Yeah.
to nominate their drivers, but we'll cover that off Monday. We'll start to get all those details organised. All liveries need to be done as well. CP, just saying. Other than that, yep, so that'll be... Now, just beware those guys that aren't racing. That will be a 3-hour minimum stream, so it's going to be a long one. So I will speak to the streamer and also a couple of the comms guys and see if they want to get 4 or 5 in the box, just so it breaks it up, have a bit of banter as well, while I drive around Le Mans very, very quickly. And I'm putting a bit of pressure on myself this one, so I want to do really well. So
that's awesome.
We're back to see Sean in a Group 1 car.
Absolutely. And then we're back with the Microsector in
2 weeks'
2
time.
weeks' time.
Yep, we'll be back.
Correct.
Just want to echo Shiza's sentiments as well. Please look after yourself, the guys in Victoria and New South Wales. Be safe, wear your mask. Don't go out after 8 p.m. Exactly, you don't have to go out after 8 p.m. That's why we started this at 8 p.m. You can just sit down and listen to us. Bullford
From
like...
all us Queensland boys, masks are mandatory on Monday.
There you go.
Okay.
So, but other than that, guys, be sure to join us on Sunday. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. It was a lot of fun tonight. But other than that, stay safe, be yourself, race hard, race fair, and most importantly, you've been listening to the Microsector.